Hello and welcome to Writing 101, episode 10. How can I get better at writing? This question is not as complicated as it seems like it might be because there's like 100 ways to get better at writing. So I'm just going to give you some of the best ways, probably the easiest ways, the ways that you'll find in the most other videos, the ways that it took me the least time to actually try and find. These are the ways that work for me. Number one is to read. I really feel like I want to write more when I read more. If I read things that are similar to what I'm writing, not similar as in stolen, but similar as in tone, I feel like I write better. I feel like I'm more driven to write. I feel like I write more words. And I think that that is really helpful. Another thing I like to do when I'm having a hard time writing or wanting to write or getting better at writing is I write more. And then I go and I read it aloud so that I can hear the sounds that are coming out of the story. I can hear for the pauses, I can hear for the breaks, and I can hear for the things that just don't come out the way that people speak. The next thing you can do to improve your writing is to listen to the way other people speak. Listen to the way they pronounce words. Listen to the differences between how an older person speaks from a younger person, from a child. Those kinds of things are very important and can be very useful in making your stories come to life and feel more real. You can also work on your writing when you're watching television and movies and things if you actively listen to how they're written. You can't necessarily know what is written as far as stage design and stage movement and things like that, but you can hear the words that are written, how people speak to each other, how it sounds when dialogue is awkward or uncomfortable. You can notice those things. You can also notice things such as where the story doesn't stick together, things that aren't cohesive, storylines that just kind of fell off. Those kinds of things are good because you can notice them and learn from them. The next thing you can do is to reread other things that you've written. You can reread what you're writing and read it aloud or read it to yourself or however. You can reread things that you wrote 6 months ago. You can reread something you wrote a really long time ago and see how much you've improved. That can make you feel better. It can also make you realize how you can actually learn by just writing. The next thing is something that I used to do with one of my really good friends. We don't do it as much as we used to because we don't have as much time on our hands. They're called merry-go-round stories. Frequently we would do them with 2 or 3 people, but what you do is you write 3 sentences, and we would do this on paper, so we just roll the paper down so that you can only see the bottom sentence, and then when you read the bottom sentence, that's all you can read, so you have to try to use that bottom sentence to guide you in what your 3 sentences are, and the next person only reads your bottom sentence. So you're missing large parts of the story. It helps you to develop your writing skills by letting you be silly and try to learn how to fill in blanks without all of the information, but it also is a lot of fun. The next thing won't come as a surprise to my regular viewers because I really love them, is writing exercises. I love writing exercises, I love prompts, I love anything that gives you a reason to write that isn't necessarily bound to being published or being shared, something that's just fun, something that just gets you writing, and keeping in mind that just because you wrote something doesn't mean it has to be for anything. So I like exercises and prompts for those reasons. The next thing you can do is to trade off editing with a friend. This might help you in 2 ways. One is when you're editing something, you are looking at it differently. And when it's not yours, you can look at it even more differently. The next thing is that your friend might be better at things that you're not great at. And so you might be able to look at how they've done those things and learn from them as well. The next thing is kind of a 1-2 punch. The first thing you have to do is learn what your weaknesses are. Figure out what things are harder for you, what things people ask you to correct the most, what things don't flow right, and then actively seek out information on those things. You can look up videos, you can read writing tutorials, you can read books about those specific things. If you're bad at dialogue, read dialogue books. If you're bad at exposition, read exposition books. Learn how to do the things that you're not good at. And another thing you can do right after that is to then lean on a friend. Find a friend who's good at that thing and have them help you. Have them tell you what they do. Have them tell you how they think about it. Maybe have them review what you're doing. See if they can give you some tips or show you what they would do differently so that you might be able to learn from that as well. All right, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and for watching. Don't forget that down below is my Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, and my Patreon. So go check those out. Also keep in mind that on the off weeks for these videos, I also do the AuthorTube NewTubers videos. So those come on about 6:15 Central Time on the opposite Wednesdays of this video. Then that night at 8 p.m. Central, I am on twitch.tv/plasticageplays Dungeons & Dragons game called Extreme Drowess. But I think that does it for today, so I hope you have a wonderful week and good writing. Bye.